You're listening to Cinema Red Pill. I'm Sharon, here with
Timothy
and Joel.
And we're going to talk about an African film today called The Burial of Kojo. It's a film made by an African guy, funded entirely by himself and a Kickstarter program. He's called Samuel Bazawule, known as Blitz the Ambassador. Yeah. That's his music name. That was his name for his hip-hop career mostly. But even now he still goes as Blitz Bazawule. He's trying to merge them.
But still we know him as Blitz the
Ambassador. His Twitter handle is Blitz the Ambassador. This is his first feature. He was a hip-hop artist before for 5 years. And then he actually said in an interview how his message wasn't coming across in music, like how he wants to root for Africanism and just show that persona of his side. So he thought a film would do it better. And I think he was right. I like the film. So the movie is on Netflix. I think we should first I want to give some backstory about this movie because it's really like one of my most anticipated films of 2019. Did you guys see the images, the still images of the film before it came out? The one of the car burning and then also the little girl.
I'd seen the poster.
I'd seen the car burning.
Yeah. So those came out like when he was starting the Kickstarter campaign. That's when I caught wind of the film, was super hype about it. He got the money for it. Then I'll keep seeing some behind the scenes stuff, like when he met up with the guys he got to work with. There was a point where he had an image with Ryan Coogler, like he was showing himself meeting with Ryan Coogler. Yeah. Then the movie was released. It had a bit of a slow release at some festivals, little. Then when Ava DuVernay's company RA picked it up, poof, everything blew up. So many publications have written about the film, and that's always the greatest thing for it. Like a New Yorker magazine to just write a review for you, that's huge. Washington Post, New Yorker, really, really cool. And it's so exciting because now they show him on several Q&As. His stuff is... You should need to see like his... Follow him on Twitter. He's really updated consistently. A bunch of people started tweeting about it. So Ava DuVernay will put him on her shoulders and drop him up there. So the movie is on Netflix. Please go and watch it because we're going to talk about it in depth. We are not going to reserve plot details or anything.
Good.
Yeah, so because it's a bit of a complicated film, we need to really unpack it all. So the movie is about a girl called Essie, and she is telling the story of her father and his brother, and also showing her relationship that she has with her father. So it's narrated, there's a voiceover, she's narrating, she's much older, the movie is in the perspective of herself when she was a bit younger.
Yeah.
And because those two plots are there together, her and her father, also the father and the brother, she goes, how can I forget to mention, there's a lot of magical realism in the film. So yeah, let's get into the details of it. I think I wanted us to first, before we delve into all the nitty-gritty, just like a general view of what you think without details. Just what did you think of the film? What had you thought it would be? And what it became? Then we get into details of the intricacies of it all. Timothy, you start.
Okay, I'm saying in general.
Yeah, just general thoughts.
Before the film, like I'd seen the poster and I'd read about it like on social media, but I didn't really like gone into like the behind the scenes stuff, the trailer, all that. So watching it was like I came in very green about the whole film and what it's about. But anyway, Burial of Kojo, after watching it, I watched it for the second time today because I watched it only once at a time and I had to watch it the second time. It's an amazing movie. Yeah. And on the second viewing, it's even much better because even there's a line in the movie where she talks about the father used to tell her stories that you didn't understand the end. No, you can't understand the end unless you know you can't understand the beginning unless you know the end. And if you know the end, it's not what you expected. Yeah, so that's kind of the thing I got from it. But it's a very good film. I liked the story because it's about a father who's kind of like dealing with this grief or is in kind of a depression, and then just kind of his relationship with his daughter and this magical imagination she has in her head. So for me, it was a 5-star film. Arguably one of the best African films I've seen in recent times.
Why, Joel? Your thoughts?
Before watching this film, I was quite I don't want to say big fan because I can't like quote all the projects he has done, but I'm a big fan of like Blitz's style of storytelling, and I've watched a bunch of his videos in the short format. Like his music videos are just breathtaking stuff, and yeah, knowing this was his first feature film, I wasn't sure what to expect because I hadn't seen him attempt something this big on like on this level of like runtime, and to me it was not a bad first try. and I don't mean that in a way of that it sucked hard or whatever. It was like it's like I could feel it was a little clunky sometimes here and there, but overall like the blitzness of everything was still there. His stamp is all over everything, and I really want to see him grow and like make more movies.
All right. Let's see. I also like his. I think we talked about the film for the Ngalabi Short Film Festival, and I really liked his stuff. It was some of my best stuff. It was very affecting, and he stays in that same faith. It's very similar to his music videos. It's very artistic. Yeah. Super artistic. Very like he must have thought of those images even before anything else. It is a very directed movie, and sometimes that thing it takes me out of it when it's a bit much, and sometimes it was a bit much and it was taking me out of it, and even I was so scared. I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to like this movie. I was actually scared. And then the last about 15 minutes or so, 10 minutes. This movie is very short, by the way. It's 1 hour and like
20.
It's 1 hour 20, but if you remove the credits, it's like 1 hour 11, 12. So it's very brief. Like those last 10 minutes, they tie the whole story together. That's why I really think what he says is true, that on rewatch it would be extremely greater, because when it ties the story up together, it all makes sense, and you're like, this story is actually simple. That's one thing that made me happy, and I actually felt satisfied with what had just happened. And then I was okay with like, okay, this is him. He does that. I ended up at the end. It all tied the room together like the mad, and it made sense for me. So I really liked it. I think one thing I wanted to mention that I didn't in the beginning is the story is inspired by a true story he read in a newspaper, which is about a man who was buried alive inside the gold mine, which is a bit of the introduction I hadn't mentioned. That Burial of Kojo, the images with those still images of the car. It's over a mining field, and this has a lot of story about the illegal mining in Ghana.
How was this guy buried? Like, he was digging and the land collapsed on him?
No. So the way when I read him talk about it, he did not put in those details. He just talked about how they added in those details of how he was illegally mining, and that's what the headline said. So he wondered, same thing, what would make someone illegally? He reverse engineered. How would you illegally mine and then end up inside, buried alive like that? That's all he said. He didn't give details on those other things. So I wonder what we should talk about first. Should we talk about how the politics in the film and how fancily directed it is? I wonder, what should we talk about? Story? Which one do you think we should go with first?
I think story first, like the meatiest one,
all right.
And then the icing.
Okay, let's talk about story. Wondering what you guys thought about the way he chose to tell his story, with the flashbacks and also those scenes he's flashing to of the magical realism, and he has this really fancy as fuck aesthetic of doing the reverse shot, the upside down thing. Please talk about that.
I think I would like to start with Timothy. This is like he's the overwhelmingly positive 5-star.
Yeah, the story.
So I'd like to know what you thought of story.
So you mean story? You mentioned the magical realism.
I think
the way it transitions to that,
like the way it pieced everything together.
Okay. Because at the beginning, there's this narration that goes on throughout the film, and again that put me off a bit because the person is talking about the snail the girl is talking about the snail that carried people on its back, and you kind of get worried like I'm going into another very deep poetic surrealist piece or something. But anyway, as the story begins, like because even at the end, because let me just skip to the end. It has narration, and at the end they kind of reveal that the character, the girl, the young Essie, is now an older lady, and she's at this book reading, and she has been, people are now giving her a standing ovation, and we have to imagine that what she has been, the narration was what is in the book that she was doing. So on that level, that part of the narration worked for me. It made sense in that. From there, I'd have to go on to the part where the girl, there are these small parts. Okay, there are cues now in the story. Because as I said, if you watch the movie again, you pick up on a lot of things. So in the film, there are these characters who come in. There's the crow, there's the bird, the sacred bird, there's the blind man who comes on the boat, and all these are kind of like these magical. They occupy this magical world. They seem to be on Earth with us, but they occupy this magical realm. And I think to a young child, that's very real, because that's probably how they internalize like real life problems or like real life shit in general. They usually have this imagination attached to it. So like all those things, like there's this part where the guy who brings the sacred bird the first time, the girl on the boat, and then the girl tells her that this guy came who was blind, and because the way she says it, it's like she's saying something completely different. Like there's a way everything had two layers to it. Like the guy brings the bird, and like you have to take care of it. There's a crow. Then you kind of, as the movie goes on, you understand that this bird is merely just a metaphor for the dad, or probably her relationship with her dad. And even again, you could even think about how that guy coming, maybe that's the guy who brought the news about the mom being sick, because later on realized the brother wasn't really even there in the first place. It was sort of phantom. That was
except who gives the girl money.
It's him.
It's him, the
it's
father
him,
himself.
because okay, although now that's one other aspect, because the brother is there but he's not there. He's basically like the chip on the brother's shoulder. So that aspect, or even just him being able to weave that in, of this guy is with them, and like you watch the whole movie and you actually believe like he's discussing with his brother. They are attacked by the Chinese and their dogs together. Then again, you have that when you reveal it, everything still holds. Is what was one of the best things about the story. Then the magical realism bits, those ones I really didn't see them as off in any way, because again I think it was a manifestation of the kids' fears. So like it wasn't a bad thing. It was almost
Did you like them?
Yeah, I liked them because they were few and far. They were not like all over the place. Like it wasn't like he was bringing them all the time. He would only bring them, and even at particular key points, like when the father gives her the money and goes, and she's like, that day she saw the crow chasing her. Then the guy who brought the bird is actually there. Then he tells her, don't let the crow take the bird away. Like that's when it comes at those particular points when it's like probably a shift. Like when the dad is now going to go to the city, that's when the crow comes. When later at the end when she has to find her dad, that's when she goes like to this magical place and finds another bird. And I thought probably it will take a while for you to watch the movie again and unpack all the symbolism in it. But I feel that for what it was, all those other magical realism things, I don't even feel like there was a lot of flash. I felt it was really, it worked with the story. Maybe you might say that though they colored the things and all that was flashy.
It was flashy,
no,
Timothy.
I don't think. That was
the
really,
movie is not flashy, it's simple.
Simple. I actually think it's less flashy than his last short film, that Diaspora trilogy, I think. It's a lot less flashy than that to me. Because there you could actually intensely, you can actually see him reversing things and all that. It's very far apart, and there's a lot of story and character development that goes on in the story itself. And out of cues he gives away. So those things were there, and they might seem like excess fat on it, but I felt they complemented, because if you actually try and see when
flashy is not bad though. Like when we say it's flashy, we're not trying to say it's bad.
No, but I feel they serve form. What's the saying? Form follows function. I felt they worked in that sense, because if he's doing magical realism and he can keep it to a minimum of bring these evocative shots every now and again. That's even like the opening shot when he begins the story. When the girl begins the story, my dad used to have this dream every night, and he's basically on the beach with his car and the ocean. Like it might seem like a flashy shot, but like it's actually he's trying to express the emotion of what he's going through. The cow is the cow of his nightmares is basically
But
there.
I feel like you're using flashy like we're saying it as a derogative term.
No.
We're saying it's okay. I'm saying it's super, like it's a bit. It's a really
Say deep.
intensely
I'd
made
say
image.
deep.
Like
Yeah.
it is
Yes,
so
I'd say
like
it's so
it's
deep.
so intentional.
Yeah.
It is so. Like it's like he had, I don't know, it's the way, it's like he really made an effort to make it look like that. It's a bit
Yes, because it's trying to convey
yeah,
something.
so
as
it's not a
opposed
derogatory thing.
yeah.
It's nice. It just is that though. It's a lot. It
I wouldn't
is
think
super
I wouldn't think
direct.
flash is the right word though.
So then, but then, okay, the way I'm using flashy, I think you've taken it as a derogatory term, but I don't mean
When you
that.
say it's heavily stylized.
Oh yeah, like it's heavy. The style is
Just-
super heavy.
That,
Like,
that-
would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean it's neither here nor
No,
there. It's
I wouldn't.
just-
So
I wouldn't.
how would you
just said
describe
he's
the
not a heavily
style?
stylized
The style.
person in his work.
No, I would say it's magical realism, but I wouldn't.
How
say
would you
it's extremely-
describe the style of the film?
the style of the film? I would say it's magical realism. That's the style.
That
I'm
is
going for.
defining
Yes.
it. It's not like anyway. Joel, I don't know. We're going to end up
I
in a
know.
hole
In circles.
because you're not making a description. You're saying a thing which is like it's saying. What did you think of the style of the film? It's a western. That's not a description.
No, but
that's a
I
form.
was referring to like I was saying in general, like I was just hinting at the parts you said like on
Yeah.
magical realism.
Mhm.
I'm saying I personally didn't feel because they were very far and few between. That's
Yeah.
why that's why I was saying
So basically you're
Yes.
saying that you didn't feel
Like
they
I-
were overly done.
No,
When they appeared, they
I
had
felt there was like this very good balance
yeah.
to what
And
was being done. Like there's a very equal balance of story and style.
Okay, and that when they appeared, they had purpose.
Yes.
Okay. And then for you, you're saying that.
No, I
it
haven't
might have
said
been
anything.
slightly-
I was
No,
describing
you're
the
just
film.
describing-
oh,
Yeah,
okay,
so
so-
yeah, but I just felt like he was using the word that I used, flashy, like I said it as a bad thing.
I know.
Yet I
was
didn't intend it
I was
as a
just
bad
probably
thing.
trying to scale down the word. Like, to,
Okay, it's
yeah,
a
I get it.
stylized film. Joe, what are your thoughts on the story?
Let me see how you'll edit that part.
I don't
I might
know.
just have to go.
Cut!
Just cut. Well, to begin with, the story reminded me a lot of one of my favorite films, Beasts of the Southern Wild. Like, a
Oh,
lot,
that is
like,
a
the way-
very good film.
Yeah, in terms of just like the little girl and the magical realism and staying with
In the
her
setting,
dad,
sort of.
and especially when it started and it's like the mother is vanishing, I was like, oh no, like you're going really heavy, like close to the plot. But then she came back, which I liked, and then I sort of let go of that thing and just enjoyed the story as it was. Yeah, as I said before, I was super into like Blitz's style of like his short form style, because I really liked what he did in the Sporadico trilogy,
Yeah.
because everything was so compact and concise, and it wasn't like he was telling like linear stories or stuff. It was just stories with like an emotional structure to it, which I really enjoyed. Now, on the feature film length format, I felt like that was a little bit diluted in comparison to his short form work, because he sort of now had to strike again that balance between like telling this story and all this dialogue, and then having those, I don't as about to use the word flashy, like having those stylistic like magical realism sequences, which I liked. And for me he wasn't quite able to strike that balance in a very effective way story wise. I liked certain, I don't even know if I liked them all that much. I felt like even that element of like the crow and the dove, I almost felt they might have been slightly derivative. I don't know that I ever felt like they were very essentially like African. I don't know if it's because I associate like the crow and stuff with like Norse mythology and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like I respected it though as like his own thing, like his own world with its own rules. So that's just like a very like side thing. The stuff with like the girl and then the answer is a little iffy. Like in terms of like the girl's place in the main story with like in terms of you like you said, you have like this sort of story layered underneath, where she's like internalizing like her father's, I don't know if I can call it like depression, like he's suffering from like his
emotional trauma.
yeah. So it's like she's internalizing his emotional trauma, his nightmares. I really like in broad strokes like what that entails. Yeah, but it was just kind of like, okay, it didn't like, I guess, blow me away the same way that like his short form stuff has. And I don't know if it was just like a question of the different runtimes, but it's not like a negative. I feel like that's something he's going to like nail down as like he does more feature films. I was going to talk about performances, but can't talk
Not
about
yet.
that. Yeah.
Well,
I liked the twist with the brother though. I mean, I'll just say that because I legit did not see that coming. Like when he falls into the mine. Because he had legit like led me along this storyline, even with like the cutaways to the soaps, which I liked. I like those subtle, like when he's hugging the mom, and then there's like this person hugging the mom on the screen. That was a very subtle shot, and I wasn't sure whether that's a real soap or whether he shot that like as a fake soap.
His name was on the credits.
On the credits of the soap.
I'm also not sure if he shot it.
I mean, if he shot it, damn man, that's that's crazy. Yeah. But I liked that they set us up with like this whole brother story, and that maybe like just the wife died and they had this girl they loved between them, and the brother might still resent him. So when it looked like the brother had like hit him to like fall into the mind, I was like, shit, this is like some heavy stuff. And I thought the plot was going in a certain direction where like the family is going to like uncover what the brother does and like save him, but no, instead it's like, no, the brother's been dead this whole time. And I like that you're confused along with the girl who's kind of the main character as well. She kind of takes over like at that point in the story a bit, where the POV is a little more on her. And yeah, I thought it was a really nice twist. I like that, again, with magical realism, they always have that moment where they want to blur the lines. Even Beasts had that moment. Except I liked it here more than I did in Beast. Beast had like some outrageous like giant bulls.
I love those bulls.
Yeah, but I think when that moment happened, that movie was a little.
I loved that moment.
Yeah, but like here in terms of, because they'd set up this whole like upside down world, everyone walks like upside down and stuff. So I liked the way she just sort of transitions into that world and transitions out of it. And without outrightly telling us like, oh, I walked into this portal and then I came out of it. It was just like this just happened like on an emotional level, like this dreamlike state. And yeah, I agree, I really liked like that last part of the film.
It just ties it all up so satisfyingly.
A really nice sequence, Overall, the story was, it was a little clunky, but I enjoyed it.
I think me too. I found it a lot more simple, like I already mentioned. I was shocked that it ended up being a twist movie. Like the way it's flowing, it doesn't come off like something that's, at least you think that it's going to be a reveal, at least maybe. They reveal his dad, but it's a full-blown twist where you have to rethink the entire film, and that was fun and interesting. Although I think the thought I had afterwards, like I kept thinking, have I ever really held on to a twist movie for a long time? I tried to think of all the favorite films I've had for a long time. None of them ever end up being twist movies. I have something against them, and I hope it will spoil something that's a recent movie, which I can't wait for us to watch in the future. That's where I'll really talk about me and twist movies. But I like that. I think one of the things you guys you were talking about, the scenes with the realism, the magical realism, where he does all those fancy shots. Sorry, the word we're not using is fancy, or
no, fancy is a different one.
Okay, with the fancy shots, but and he's also not still being mainstream in the normal scenes with her and the father. It's still, and that's the vibe of his music videos though. There's this breezy slow motion way that they be. There's a vibe which reminded me of somebody. It reminded me of Terrence Malick, to be honest. There's the way his current, the most recent things. Don't think Tree of Life, think the more recent ones he did. I've forgotten their titles. They have that breeziness of it, and they also have a voiceover. I was reminded of that so much. And this is a bad thing. The Terrence Malick ones be so profound in those scenes. They weren't that profound here. Like I even used to sleep to his movies because of that feel goodness that they give me with the voiceover, with that self-reflection while she's self-reflecting. I didn't feel this here, but there were still a lot of things I liked. I wonder if I can talk about the portraits here because they reminded me of If Bill Street Could Talk. He does these self-portraits and I think they work. The movie is a lot. Can I use that word, Timothy? I fear to offend you when I say bad things. The movie is a lot. Between when it transitions to magic realism, then like even I remember the scene where they bring up that the brother died. And even the way he treats the scenes, he doesn't call that much attention to it to tell you that you actually need to see this. You see, I even keep thinking if it's because Hollywood is so scared of people not understanding what they do, they make sure a scene you're supposed to see is seen. They'll at least put a loud music, or they'll be like loud.
They hold that shit.
They will hold it for a while. Even when he reveals that the brother was dead the whole time, he just says it in such a normal tone. He doesn't really call attention to it. So I kept thinking maybe I'm programmed to people feeding me shit, but it's still a lot. The movie is a lot. I think, be ready for it to be. I was sleepy the first time, like tired. I was like, I can't do this. I need Saturday morning, fresh mind, and that's when I'll see. I wanted to see some things again, and I saw them today early in the morning because like it needs that kind of concentration. So I think. Let me stop asking you.
Use your words.
It's a challenging film, I think. It's really 100% a challenging film, but it's very satisfying at the end of it all. That's what I would say on story. I think could we move on to the aesthetics of it all?
Yes, please.
Yes, because he uses. Let's talk about the colors, the music, just the way this dude directs. I don't know. Is that how they say that word? In lieu of other African directors. Yeah, let's talk about that because it is a character of the film.
Yeah.
Tim, you go.
Okay, there's this quote that Bergman used one time. He was talking about Tarkovsky, and he was like, as far as cinema goes, he was trying to find like this whole other new dimension of the way to make his movies. But then when he saw Tarkovsky's film for the first time, like he found someone who actually had the keys already to that room and he had already explored. That's kind of how I felt, because I felt he maximized every possible element of every possible filmmaking element he had at his disposal, and he didn't overdo it because like cinematography, for example, like when I watched it again today, I noticed this thing because whenever he would shoot, he would usually show the brother with like a friend or someone else, and his other brother is on the side. And the first time you watch it, you'll actually think the brother is there, but on watching it again, his camera movement always highlighted it. Actually, when you see that this guy is not with them, because he would always show them, and then he would slowly pan to this guy to reveal the brother like he's sitting beside them. So that's something I really liked about the way he was directing. Like he kept leaving these subtle cues, even using his camera. Then the music, you said, he made the music himself.
Yeah,
he
all of
composed the score.
it does sound like him.
And it's actually really cool and subdued. It wasn't like a very heavy score, very subdued. And even the end credit song was really nice. I'm still looking for the title for that one. Another thing I would say, the editing. I know you're going to do a reverse shots. There were upside down shots.
Those upside downs. The first time he did it, I was like,
and that's
fancy.
and that's something I was really impressed with, because we know here in Uganda, like we've been to these workshops. People will never let you write a scene with anything extra. Never get to the story. Where is it going? What is this? What's the location? That is it. There's like no depth added to that, and I felt like as you were saying, like editing kind of work. Like you might see the shot as upside down, and you might think it's, whoa, this is a really different shot, but it's probably symbolizing something because they keep talking about the upside down place. So, like that's when now you see the shot gets like more context out of the film itself. Then I like the telenovela segments. They were really cool, and the way they were like mirroring the real life, because also it's a conflict of some brothers and lady, and it's the same here in real life as well. And then the color. I like the color. There were some scenes like there's that color, there's that shot of the sky which is pink. Then the other really cool things he did, like when the mother and Kojo, when Amma and Kojo meet for the first time, when they show those ponds. What are they called? Lilies?
Lilies.
Yeah, when they're like lighting up. Like those are all really like and he did like only once, and they were really cool but subtle. So those are some of the things. And I like the setting also. As you said, like this of the southern world, like I liked how that maybe that whole thing of people living on houses built on
top of
stilts on
water
top of
and-
water
yeah.
kind of gave it a very nice, like the rural life was really picturesque. Then again, when they came to town, I like that it wasn't so much of a juxtaposition as most Africans try to make it. Like they really show, if you're in the village, you're in a mud hut. Then when you're in town, you're like in plazas and all that kind of thing. So I like that kind of balance he found.
What did you think of his drone shots?
Drone shots. Again, there were very few. By
Yeah,
the
there were few.
And the thing
He
is,
didn't abuse
yes,
them.
and the thing
People
is, they were
abuse those
different
shots.
because I've seen, in Uganda, people use one drone shot like 5 times in the movie. Here, there were like 5 drone shots, and they were all like different, and they were transition shots in a way. They weren't like so much of this is. See, I have a drone, it's flying over water. It was really just simple transition.
Yeah.
Those are some of the stylistic things I would say. Like, magical realism, I think we already spoke about.
We did in story.
we did, Yeah, actually, just to hop off of what you're saying, because actually, by the time the first drone shot happened, I was just starting to question, wow, this guy has not used one drone shot yet. Then it happened. But yeah, they were like so few, so I was like, well done. And I think, again, also for me, I think it's like Ugandan cinema that has put me off drone shots.
There's like that thing where
just
they
because of how overused
they get that one drone shot of the house and
Yes.
they bring it back.
Yes.
And you're like,
and never measures up with the rest of cinematography.
this one kind of blended well to that.
But like with this cinematography, it was actually slightly taking me out of the movie for like the first 10 or so minutes. I don't know if you noticed, but I don't know if it was me just over, but like I would notice like that first upside down shot with like the raven dude on a horse was ever so slightly misaligned, just
Really?
very slightly misaligned on the horizon. And that and that kind of took me out of the movie. And there was like there's about 3 more shots like that, but afterwards the cinematography was just on point like for the rest of the movie. But it wasn't like, it's not like I'm penalizing it. I'm like, you fucked up so bad. It was like, because even like with the way he like flipped it upside down, like that he straightened it even that much was miraculous. It's just that the grass on the horizon like threw it off. Now those upside down shots, I liked. I don't even know if I liked it. I thought it was okay
But
the
one
first time.
One day, like 2 of them. How many
No,
were
there
there?
were like 5.
There were
more.
many.
There were so many.
There weren't few. I
were
remember reacting to them very strongly.
No, you mean like one particular shot, or you mean the upside, the ones
No,
all of the ones used in the movie?
As opposed to use.
Because there's the one you're saying of the crow on the horse.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
like one. That's like the one which really stands out for me.
Yeah, because that was the very first one, which is
Then which other one? There's
not
one which
2.
there are few. I didn't really see it.
There was more. I don't know why, like, Sharon, I also feel like there were
Like
more.
you know that there may be a few like transition things, but
because it's enough for me to feel that it was a little much because I like
no, but why don't you? What about
happens at least
interrogating
twice in the
what
first
it
30
means?
minutes.
Like,
no, that's the
what
thing.
it
Is
means.
the first the first.
It has a lot of meaning. They tell
Yeah,
us what
they
it
told
means.
us.
They tell us that because they're in the upside down place, it's between life and death. Cool.
Yeah.
Remember
No,
that.
what is the upside down place?
The
place
land between like the
life
living and the dead. That's what they describe it as. That's where she talks to the brother at the very end when she discovers he's like a ghost or whatever has been haunting him. Because like when she falls asleep on that place where they buried the body, then she transitions into that upside down world. But I can't recall him ever like trying to do. We have that director we'll talk about a few days from now. Would have like flipped it, you know, like his movie Devil, where like everything, oh shit, everything's upside down, it's upside down, and then they flip it back. So again, I like that he did show restraint. So I'll
He
give him
has
that.
a lot of restraint.
He really did.
He really does.
So it's just because even with the upside down shots, I'll only speak for myself. It's not, again, with all the criticisms I have for the movie, it's not like this completely breaks the experience or this completely does what. It's just like those minor hiccups. So like, okay, I look forward to him improving on that. Like because like the movie is so good. Music was on point, definitely. I'll just talk about like standout scenes that I liked the way he shot them. There's that one brief scene outside their place in Accra, with like the stairs sort of
Yeah.
those shapes were. It was such a simple shot, but I found those shapes
Very
amazing.
African structures.
Yeah, and then my favorite sequence actually in the movie, surprisingly, was when they take the daughter to that revival with that pastor who was supposed to have healing powers. I just like the aesthetic of all these people dressed in like white robes and like a guy falling asleep, and just it had that atmosphere that you mentioned that he has in all his movies, where it's like really breezy. The pace is really slow burn, and I love how we just transitioned us into a place where this guy is getting baptized, and then we'll like snap back into reality. That to me was the most seamlessly done sequence in the entire movie. I just enjoyed it because I was just like in it completely. That when you transitioned back, I was like, oh shit!
And for
like,
me, it was actually like the most confusing one because like
Really?
I wondered like when he got baptized, why did the bad die? Like those are the questions I left like such a scene with. Why did it die? What were they trying to?
I didn't add thought to
symbolize?
that.
that's the
That
thing.
is
There's a-
important. That is.
No, I mean it's like there's so many, because I mean like it dies and like comes back to life when they're like finding him in the end, but it comes back to life in that other world. But
Yeah,
it
it's in
comes
the
into
magical
our
world, yeah.
So I don't know if it really came back to life. I think like it was its soul or whatever. Anyway, I think you have to watch it a couple more times,
you
like
do,
unpack
you do.
all that
It's
stuff.
hard. It's
Speaking
a lot
of that scene
questions.
in the church,
Yeah.
like when we talk about how stylistic this film is, like when that scene happens, my thought is, yeah, by the time you decide to do a church scene and make everyone wear white, this is entirely for style purposes. Do you think that
This-
all white was for any purpose of character and scene?
People usually wear white via
Yeah.
baptism.
Everyone
That's
plain
what-
white?
yeah,
I've
they
seen
do.
that.
That was
They
like
went
a
to just
legit.
pray and over what?
No, there was
No,
like
but
pray, but there was,
I didn't buy it.
That was a legit thing. At least that's an aesthetic.
like, but
I've
there's
seen
some
in so
religious,
many
like
films.
it could be religious, like
Exactly,
just like
an
an organization's
aesthetic in
uniform.
so many films.
Yeah.
That's even the worst thing to say
I
about
don't know.
it. It's
Yeah,
really
but I don't
just
know. Like
for stylistic
in this,
purposes.
yeah, no. But
and
in this particular sequence, for me personally, it fit because I can't put my pin on it. But like, given just a brief time that I stayed in Accra, that image, like,
It's a
fit.
good image.
Like it fit
It's a
like,
very good
it
image.
fit like as because I don't know for sure if that's what would happen, but based on like how they dress over there and everything, it really fit like just logic.
But I think it's probably like
My
even it's like usually most religious like say sect or something.
Yeah.
Usually people have a uniform, and even I thought there was something about that guy. Like he wasn't an everyday pastor or like priest.
Yeah.
He could have probably been some guy who has brainwashed these people, and even he complained about it. Like my mom, she would sit in church the whole day.
Yeah.
So like it could have been a uniform thing, maybe. I
And
really
yeah,
didn't see it as a.
and I mean they also set it up for us that the way because the wife suggests it and then it says about how it's the suggestion was like from the mother and how like if you told that woman sit in church the whole day she would sit there otherwise she'd just watch television.
Like I don't think it was a conventional preacher.
yeah
or
so
something.
like for me I felt primed like this is going to be some cuckoo shit. So like when we actually arrived, I was surprised with how
how it
just
went,
chill
like,
it was. Yeah,
Like you
just-
thought the guy was going to like cuss
Yeah.
out the guy. You would
Yeah.
go back to
but it was so chill. Our main
Okay.
character was falling asleep, and for me that threw me off completely. It was unexpected. So yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. I would say it was a nice sequence.
yeah, we're talking about
It's
aesthetics.
still
still.
aesthetics. Yeah, wrapping it up.
Yeah, the colors were pretty. He uses a lot of pink. That was nice. He uses a lot of blue. The two of them
Yeah.
together
He has
make a
to.
great combination.
Actually, he was using red for Kojo and blue for his
For-
brother.
Oh.
Like when Kojo is alone,
I
they
didn't
usually
notice that.
use red. Then when like the times like his brother would be like trying to convince him, let's go to this place, get the gold, all that. There would be like this weird. On one side it's blue,
Yeah.
then on his side it's red.
Pink. Why are you calling it red? It's pink.
I think it was
Was
red.
it
Well,
pink
men-
or red?
men-
I'm
men
some
are
color
colorblind.
blind.
I know.
It's pink. You
We're
know,
not-
you're
not
really
even
like,
going
I
to try
didn't see a
contest.
single red. It's pink.
Like
The
when they're in
red,
the
the
club.
only red
Like
that
when they're in
comes
the
up
club.
is when the police lights come on, and then it's the red and blue and
Maybe
black.
we'll check,
was
we'll
it.
check.
I know.
But
I will
it's
take you.
pink.
I'll show you a scene.
I do
Yeah,
not
it's
trust my
pink. But also me, I've messed up so many times where I think purple is blue, those things. But
No,
I really think
I
it's
feel
pink.
even color-wise it would be really weird for blue.
Pink. It is
contrast.
beautiful.
It's a
really,
bit
it's
weird.
blue
It'd be
and
hard on-
red is
it'd be
where
very
it's
hard on-
at. What?
Yeah, blue and red, like it's a bit seamless.
It's pink. Anyway, the colors are dope.
Yeah.
You've talked a lot about my same reservations about the upside downness, but it was cool.
And
like
and
the
again,
way
and
you were
again.
talking about, like I really appreciated it still, and it makes
Yeah.
sense in the end. So I'm very happy with it at that point.
Yeah.
I really wanted to ask you about the portrait scenes because you're a portrait photographer. Yeah, do you have any? What were your thoughts on it? Did you feel like they worked?
No, I mean they worked for his style. They were they.
Do you think they added
sort of like
anything?
that-
Which ones? Which
Like
portraits?
there was always a point where some of the characters would look directly at the camera.
Yeah.
Those are portraiture
Or
scenes,
like
aren't
that
they?
umbrella scene.
Yeah, the umbrella
like,
scene. There's even Amma has a scene. The mom has a scene. Even him, he has a scene.
Yeah.
What did you think of them?
Because I think normally when they happened, I believe there's narration usually accompanied by it.
Kinda.
So for me, it fit with the whole we're framing a portrait thing. Because when you're taking a portrait, there's a certain story you're trying to tell. with
Yeah,
the
that's
person's
what you
facial
always
expressions
say,
and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah, so for me it fit. Is it necessary? No, but like Tim said, it's nice to like have some color. I like that he had this distinct style.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're done, there was like one minor
No,
thing.
continue,
No,
yeah,
and
because
maybe
I'm
let me
done.
pitch in that because I would think
Okay.
maybe even it was maybe him cutting corners because he used them a lot. Either he was showing just an emotion or showing time passing. Like when he showed them in the beginning,
Yeah.
they're all smiling and they're in love. Like you actually get a very objective
Yeah.
view of them, apart from all other subjective stuff you're going to go through.
Yeah.
Then at the end, like even when he was at his lowest, probably before he went to the gold mine,
Yeah.
again we had another one there. Like I even when she was leaving and going, because he kept editing, she kept coming, going. So some of them I think were him just maybe cutting corners instead of showing her leaving and coming.
I guess I'd have to. I mean, yeah,
It's a very simple stylistic.
Yeah,
No, it's
I
very
know. I mean,
simple.
you watched it twice, but yeah, I think the first time around, I felt like it was a very intentional stylistic.
Because the
choice,
first one,
like,
the
from
first one is
beginning.
when it's the mother of the girl.
She's the first.
the first
I
She's
also
the first one
remember
yeah, to have
her.
those
Yes.
portraits
Yeah.
like when she's
Yes.
going and leaving. I guess I'd have to rewatch to see how that flows with everything else.
What was the additional thing you had?
Yeah, the additional thing that still, if you know, I liked or not was like I don't know if you noticed, like the frame rate he shot like the movie in is like it's not like 24 FPS because you know like how the shots feel a little like hyper realistic, like you're there. Doesn't have that.
He was
that
slowed
movie
some
magic
things
thing.
down.
Yeah,
in
but
the
like even
first
when he
one.
slowed those down, it was like music video slowing them down. That 120
music
FPS
videos,
of like,
yeah.
this is like some do. So I don't know. I feel like again it's just a question of personal taste, but I think I would have enjoyed it if it was shot in that traditional dream like 24 FPS, which is like just below like what the normal human eye sees. But I feel like the closer you get to like what we actually see, the more it like sort of takes you out of like that movie magic quality. That's a very, very minor thing.
Have you watched the Ang Lee film that's in 240?
In 240 FPS?
What's it? Yeah, what you guys you have to know about that film? Oh, let me
Can't
put a
imagine what
reminder.
that's like.
You should even
It's called
just
what?
see
Ang Lee?
the Ang. No,
Ang
the
Lee,
the
Ang Lee.
director Ang Lee.
Yeah.
I'll check. There's a clip on YouTube that will show you. It's a mind fuck.
It's like
But
an old movie.
It's recent. It's
must
like
be recent.
2015. It's recent, not so far. Like 2017 even. You'll see.
Yeah, cool.
Right now, let's first free flow. I want to talk about what I want to talk about first. Now, just
Mm-hmm.
I want to talk. One of the things I really liked is how he has little bits and pieces of political things in the film.
Yeah.
One of the major things, of course, like I talked about the illegal mining that happens in Ghana. I like how he dropped them in. He doesn't make them a concentrated topic.
Yeah.
Like, actually, that's one of the worries I had because it starts off, it's like, gold mine, Chinese. You're like, fuck, they're going to teach us a lesson on economic corruption. Da, 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 da. But anyway, I just like how he points it out in a sense that it could actually start a conversation about it. It actually shows that it's an issue, but he doesn't get preachy about it.
Overdwell,
Yeah, and he even mentions how the Chinese are a big part of it. So you really know he's caring about how much the Chinese are taking over Africa, the worries and fears of many people. Also, even one of my favorite scenes is when the guy goes to report the case and then it's like, he was released and flew away back to his country. I really dug that. I really liked the scene of corruption. I just like things that I know would happen to me, like that scene of the police guy saying you need to pay a little more to be such. Like, it is so true, so true. I was very happy with it. Yeah, and exploitation of the people, really, because they're exploiting them as African miners, and the scene where they show them getting very little money for the gold. Painful. I really I like those political bits in the film amidst all its magical realism and story, and it has those bits of which are very, very, very present in other African films, but I like how he uses them a lot. It's one of my favorite things about it.
I think the money they actually got is like under $50. Like so
for the gold.
So little like that money, yeah.
But
when was that?
They
Like,
were also playing guys. They were also
minutes.
playing guys. Then when his guy got a border B and was like, man, I took for the white guy fake gold. He paid me and they can't report because they don't have license.
Yeah, they were hustling, really.
Yeah.
Talk about other things I might have missed, really.
I mean, I like jump on the Chinese thing when it popped up. I've read, I can't count how many scripts I've read of movies coming out that have that happening in the background, just from different
I've seen one of a quarry.
Yeah,
exactly like a quarry story about China.
I think I read the same one. yeah. It's just, and wow. Anyway, I like that he kept it in the background. I know that of course there might be certain people who are hesitant of like, are we going to like offend like a certain part of the audience or do this? But having like traveled a bit in Ghana, that's exactly how the shit is. Like with Uganda, you could sort of still feel like they're a bit in the background. But Ghana, when you're like traveling up country, you're legit seeing so many places with, like the Ghanaian flag, Chinese flag, side by side on buildings, on what? They're literally everywhere. So it's like legitimately like that. It's a legitimate like fear.
It's one of the big fears of our time, probably.
But I like that he doesn't. I like that it's just like a backdrop, because that's exactly like how it feels. It feels like there's this overpowering like thing happening in the background that the little people can't really affect either way. And I like that that's how he told the story, like what you're saying, in a sense that you open up a conversation rather than, I think that's more constructive than like trying to like take the bull by the horns directly. I don't think that will work at all for anyone. But I loved it. That just at Kafa, and it was in passing, like the first time we see them, like the Chinese on the door.
It's just so good.
Blink of an, and I loved it. It was, and again, I don't know. I think you read the. I don't know if we'll talk about it after. But there's a scene that reminded me of that script we read.
Is it a Ugandan script?
Huh? It's an East African script. Yeah, but you remember the scene in the pickup with like the woman smoking and stuff? Yeah. It reminded me a lot of that.
Do you know, I had written it down, Dog's Woman. I hated that scene. I really did like that. It was one of the scenes I hated.
Yeah. But I guess for me now I enjoyed it just because I'd read the script with like a similar setup of Chinese people.
Was it a feature film you read?
Yeah, it was a feature film.
I also like the whole thing of bringing in the Chinese also and the corruption. Yeah, but as you said, like I was also happy like they didn't focus on that, because like when I saw him come in town and they're like, oh, the Chinese own everything and they were mining, I was like, it's going to be one of those stories about
Chinese punishment would have shifted the whole story.
If anyone had control of that script, they would have said,
Let's focus on this now.
Teach us neocolonialism of the Chinese.
Exactly.
That is it, yeah.
So I like it was there, like kind of show how disempowered these guys are in their own country. But it was, what was the word? It was, I like how it was used. They brought them in the beginning, then they came at the end, then they showed them. They didn't dwell on it. Maybe there was a radio segment where this guy is complaining about. You didn't hear that part, like one on the radio, some guy
Yeah,
is
yeah,
complaining, they call Chinese. What?
It was Blitz himself. Yeah.
But
I remember you guys not liking that in Twaga, but you complimented it.
But in
Again,
Twaga it was
it's
done
only
badly.
execution.
It's the way
It's
you
only
do it, not
execution.
it wasn't good in Twaga.
Yeah. But like a Kasato thing I also liked was the fact that the characters also like the law enforcement, like I like the way that side character of the inspector, that like that guy, that older guy that they brought
Kumson.
in. Kumson. And like I wanted to watch a whole movie and just Kumson. You're such an interesting character. But I like that they jumped to that conclusion of like the Chinese must be the ones that got rid of this guy. I feel like that was a very subtle,
Very
like
good.
meta thing in terms of like us, like while we're afraid of like having our land like encroached on and stuff, shouldn't get into that area of like just blind, xenophobia, where you're just like pointing fingers and like blaming an entire group for like this and this.
Very nice.
And then again, he didn't call any attention.
Nothing.
It is like blink of an eye.
So good.
Gone.
What else do you want to talk about? You wanted to talk about the acting for a moment, Joel?
Yeah. Cause I think other than like the two brothers and maybe the little girl, because I think like the wife and like the mother are just like like he uses them like really minimally.
Minimal.
Yeah. Like to a very minimal degree. It doesn't demand too much from them because they all have just subdued facial expressions, which I think was smart. And it's just like the context of the scene they're in, to which you yourself can infer, okay, you must be feeling this emotion. And for me, it was kind of a nice flip, because the wife does show plenty of emotion at the end, like when he disappears. Because the whole movie, she just looks like she's just tired of this guy's shit. Because even just a moment when like a kid has an asthma attack and he's trying to wake her up. I love the amount of time she takes to wake up. And even when she's consoling the kid, you could just feel her attitude towards this guy was, I am so tired of this broke guy stuff. But when he disappears, she actually really turns up the emotion. It starts like emote more. So now that I think about it, I think it was very like purposeful.
And I think even they're trying to show that because maybe the girl was more attached to the dad. I think the mom was probably a bit cold, like both the husband and to the girl. Maybe she wasn't as.
But even the story is about him losing the love of his life, so she's basically irrelevant to the story, his story in a way.
But the thing is that it's like she discovers that when he takes her to like
the
grave.
To the grave.
That's
she
when
learns,
they show those
what
things.
does this other woman, and then you met me after.
I have a lot of sympathy for those women that they put in a movie like that.
Yeah, but I did love like her spirit was very enduring. Like the more I talk about it, the more I realize like how well she was actually.
Yeah, she was actually her own woman.
She's like she's sort of put to the corner, but she's really
doing her own thing.
Yeah, she is.
The only I don't like it when sometimes it's like they make it seem like this I don't know, it's because I oversee them use women like this. You guys, you really need to understand where I come from with these things. Like those things where they make her give him an eye, and she has that dead stare where she gives him an eye for a very long time, like forcing him to go to church. It's this thing, I don't like it. I just need it to. It will always be there. It's sometimes true, like women just being the bore of your life, like pushing you to do things.
Forcing you to go to church.
Yes,
That's like a classic setup.
You see, like there's always
the nagging wife, basically. Is what you're saying, you know.
I'm so tired. If a woman nags, leave her. I'm just so tired.
But she wasn't nagging him.
So let me understand where I'm coming from. I'm contextualizing it from several things I've seen over the years. This is something similar to that. There's truths in it, in the story, in real life. It's just a personal thing. I hate it. Yeah, I just hate it didn't disturb me. I wouldn't even use it as like a negative for the film at all. It just reminds me of something I hate.
Yeah, that's fair. I guess for me, I like the moment we hit that point in the story where it was like, when are you going to take me? When are you going to take me? And he's giving excuses, and she decides, fuck it, I'll like go myself. that's when like my sort of because I also felt like they're really great to like fall into that nagging wife setup, and she'd just be this really one-dimensional wife character I've seen a bunch of times. But I like that they gave her that like slight bit of agency that made me see her as a person. Like she was not like super like attached to him of like, oh, my husband, I'm going to
she was doing it for the kid.
She like do her own stuff. So even when she was like sick of him, I think why it was even never like verbalized in a sense was that she was okay just taking care of her own shit.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah,
and she would go and
I was like, yeah,
he
we'll
would
be
wait
married.
For her. He would wait for her,
have the
come back,
kid, and it's fine. Yeah. And for me now, in that sense, now it made me focus more on the tragedy of their relationship, because they start with like, oh, so in love and stuff, and they just like fall out of it. It's not like they fall out of it to the point of like, big argument, I'm leaving you, blah blah blah. It's just it's just like that sad state where like the spark is gone and you're just there, you're just existing. So I found that like really tragic and sad.
I didn't like the acting of the little girl. I really didn't. And I was reminded of the little girl in I Am Not a Witch. I think the way she's like, you can see that I'm Not a Witch girl is not an actress, and she's just moving around a set. But her face was more curious. Like, I was more curious about her as a character in I Am Not a Witch. This one, I wasn't feeling any connection with her, which
maybe
is
because she had more
some
lines.
a bit
The other one, maybe
mean
the silence of
and that's what
mysterious.
I thought of that too, like the fact that she was always silent added to it, and there's a lot to ask of little kids. And I'll say something, I just watched Us, and they have a little girl with a voice, and she somehow looks like this little girl. So that also I think, but I didn't overlike her performance. And even the boy, I didn't like the performances in this. I felt like the directing carried the performances a lot more, like it helped them to a higher level. Because the guy, even the way he looks, was reminding me of a certain kind of fuckboy. Sorry, but it was reminding me of that, which was just not making things connect. But then the direction of the film would make things better for me. Yeah. So I felt like the direction carried a lot of the weight of some inabilities of the actors.
I think for me now, I felt the opposite about that. I felt like in his directing, he left the actors
to be
behind.
Oh, he left them behind.
Now mine is even different, because in my view, I feel he told them, like he almost told them to be these models in his movie.
Yes,
not so much performing. Like, you work for the story instead of you putting on like a pose. I'm sure if they had put it on, that's when you get those bad acting. You know, like you've seen them in African movies, when the person is overtrying. So I think even sometimes it's better to just scale it down a bit. So if you go over, it's okay, and if you go low, it can still work.
Agree. But I think in terms,
that's
the way I
was
saw it.
happening.
It
was
scale
just
down,
working enough.
Yeah.
But I think he'll improve on that as he goes, because he's like a very visual person also. All his music videos is about the colors and the editing and the cinematography, and that just elevates like every single thing. So.
I'm done. I'm even closing my book. Like, I've run out of things. I've ticked everything off.
And not safe. For me, the thing I really took from this movie, like besides the Chinese stuff, what was really the way the guy was dealing with grief.
Yeah,
because I
we
feel
haven't
that was
talked about
yes.
that.
Because I feel that
we've hinted. We've
hinted. And I feel like even like from like everything flows from that, like the story. Like it's really just about this guy dealing with his depression. And another thing I'd maybe comment, like again, his relationship with his daughter. Like in spite of all his frustrations and all that, at least he's a good father in a way. He has quit drinking. He hasn't. And again, even there's this whole other scene of like, again, as we're talking about at the end when he falls in the mine, and then we're meant to believe that it's his brother who hit him and he fell in. But again, might pick something of like, you know, you've heard of the term staring into the void. So I feel that was probably the thing, because when it was like when he come and you like the whole movie is staring into the void, he's deep in his depression
like
and all this. So when he actually comes to this other one, like probably for a split second he thinks he falls in. And then again, it shows probably, because if it was a suicide, say it was suicide, again, it shows that maybe suicide isn't a quick process. Because again, as you see him fall inside, like he spends a while there. There's that scene where he eats a cockroach. that's some of the stuff that really messed with me. Like it's a slow process, probably him degenerating from the depression to him being at the bottom of this pit.
Exactly.
It's really a slope. Like it wasn't like he just decided. It was, and I like that aspect of the film in general for me.
What was your takeaway?
No, actually, basically, for the most part, the same. In terms of, I did like the commentary on grief. Once I realized that's what the film was about. In the end, I thought it was a neat way of like approaching the topic. But for me, my biggest takeaway was just for like, as a fan of Blitz.
That's true.
Because that's how I watched the movie.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to like follow his filmography and like see it grow. And again, for like a first attempt, only the few people can even dream of making something this good. Like the first attempt at a feature film. It is really, really good, and yeah, I can't wait to see him like take on more. He will only improve with time, and I love that he has a very unique aesthetic that still feels. I hate the word authentically African, but it feels like very African, but still seems fresh and new. Because I feel like also sort of get locked into either the old school like Sembene stuff or like the Nigeria stuff of now. But like this is like something new and like very specific to an individual. I like it in the same way that I liked like the directing of Felicite, where it's like this specific like individual style. Yeah, so I really like it, and yeah, this guy is like amazing in terms of just doing music and cinematography and all this stuff. And yeah, I want to see how he improves on story. I think story is the only one where he just needs to bring it up to that level where everything else is.
I think in terms of like his takeaway, the thing I had written down as my takeaway because the ending scene, which was my most profound scene, is the one I delved a lot of meaning into. Yeah. And the fact, I like how they transition from just him and her seated on the table, then the camera turns, and then there's an actual audience, and then she stands up. So my takeaway was the dead are all around us all the time. I really took the mythology as a whole, and because the brother was dead and around him, so that was my main takeaway in terms of theme, more than the depression bits. But otherwise, every single thing you said is exactly how I feel. Because I love Blitz and his diaspora radical trilogy. Yeah. It's on YouTube. Check it out. And I knew it had to be good. Like you can genuinely judge a movie from its still images, and this movie, it really was true to the images we saw in the beginning. Loved it. It was good.
I like a slight addition. I don't know if you'll include it in the edit at all.
I wonder.
No, it just made me, because I remember when I was watching that scene where they're walking in the graveyard, it reminded me of when I was in Accra, like how the Ghanaians have a very unique relation with like the dead. Very unique relationship. Yeah, there's a bunch of graveyards like everywhere in the city, just like this, like these huge massive
the dead
graveyards.
Are all around.
Yeah, and even we like when we went to this village, there are like posters for like morticians, where there's like an actual corpse on the poster advertising like their services that they would like dress
like
up
a dead person.
Yeah, like a real dead person, like a graphic picture of a dead person messed up, and they're like cleaning him up and everything. And it's just like casually on the road. And apparently also when they die, they'll like put the person on like a freaking billboard, and he'll hang there for like months and months. Like a dead to announce to everyone this person has died. And they're like, even after the funeral, they might keep it long after that. So anyway, just also what you sort of said at the end of like
about
the dead
yeah,
I'll
add it.
Yeah, just sort of reminded me of their unique. Yeah, for us Ugandans out of there were like, what the hell is going on? Yeah. But the Ghanaians were just very casual about it all. Yeah.
I guess we're done.
Yeah, we're done.
Talked about it. This was a typical cinema red pill movie.
True.
It's really typical of our movement of trying to talk about African films. And this one is good and has a lot to talk about. We have a lot to say about it. Yeah. And it's not a short film. We're always limited to short films. So now we have a feature and it's fun. And since it's on Netflix, we're on time with watching it.
Yeah.
Good. But this has been our episode. Thank you for listening. I'm Sharon.
Timothy.
Joel.
Follow us everywhere. Website Cinema Red Pill, and check out our episode next week. We'll talk about glass. And bye.